what your Forsaken Survivor main says about you. Noob. There are two types of noob players. You're either ass at the game, or you aren't ass at the game. If you're in that first group, you're probably an actual noob using him because you just started Forsaken and have no idea how to play. Really, those three abilities of yours, the Cola, Slate Skin, and Burger, might as well not exist, except for the Burger, because for some reason you just love to pop Ghost Burger right in front of the killer, thinking it's like Yorubel and Deep Woken and is gonna make you completely invisible, right before you get Gashing Wounded, Mass Infectioned, Walk Speed Overrided, and do all the survivors a nice little favor by adding 30 seconds to the timer so that they can do more generators. How generous of you. You might also not be new to the game and have the yourself skin or whatever, but you're still somehow ass and have no idea how to loop, basically being like 2-time, except instead of having nothing but the passive ability to revive on death, your ability is to add 30 seconds to the timer by default. On the flip side, there's the actually good noobs. If you're a good noob, no killer, and I mean no killer, likes playing against you. You probably strike fear into the hearts of anybody who checks people's playtime through clicking on your name, enough to make most educated killers switch servers immediately. You go most matches never getting hit once, and usually it tends to either go into last man standing because you can't help your team in any meaningful way, or the killer tunnels you, fails to kill you for 3 minutes, and eventually loses because you wasted all of their time. You're a menace that makes winning impossible for the killer, and you are hell to play against. Undetectable, unkillable, and untouchable. You're the ultimate LMS merchant. Shedletsky. You suck, and I say this as a milestone for Shedletsky. Like, genuinely, most Shedletskys are worse than other players at the game, and you're almost certainly not an exception. You don't know how to loop, at least not that well, you miss almost all your sword swings, and you might as well marry the corner because of how much you love hiding behind it to try and swing at the killer before you get baited and then lose half your HP for screwing up. Doesn't matter to you though, because you're playing what is arguably the best survivor in the game, and as long as the killer doesn't finish the chase, you just heal all the way back up by munching on chicken. Killers hate you because you love walking up to them and stunning them just because you can, and you like stunning killers who are already stunned, even though it does nothing, because you just gotta get that extra XP and money. You're playing the easiest survivor in the entire game, and you're probably stunted as hell because of it, but you are indeed a professional nuisance that makes most killers want to walk speed override off a cliff after you stun them enough times. Builderman. Surprisingly for a support class, you tend to be kind of bad at looping. You probably have every single emote in the game because you just love partying at your heal dispenser with other survivors before it gets mass infectioned and you all take more damage than you healed back, and you might as well be married to the corners of the map because you never, ever leave them. The survivors absolutely love you, the killers hate you because your sentries are a pain in the ass, but you honestly aren't the biggest deal most of the time, and a majority of the time, you end up dying because you're pretty defenseless if you don't have a sentry and you don't have sentinels protecting you. I would speak negatively on you because you're usually bad at the game, if you weren't pretty useful most of the time in spite of that. 2-time. You're garbage. Usually. The only people who even play 2-time are people playing him for a challenge, or people who don't know any better and think that extra life, it really isn't, is gonna make it easier for them to survive than using any of the other many much better survivors. You think you can loop, but you can't. You think that running in the killer's face to draw aggro is helping your team, maybe it does but it usually doesn't, and you either lose your first life and then die immediately because of the weakness, great job adding 30 seconds to the timer, or you lose your first life, get left for last man standing, and then die pathetically. You could be a good 2-time who's using him for the challenge, and you might know how to loop, but the majority of you don't, and you're really just dead weight. The only people who really love you are the killers. Dusakar. People love you when you're Survivor and want to dox your IP address if they're the killer. You're actually insane at looping, and you're practically untouchable half the time, and even though you should be one of the worst survivors in Last Man Standing, most of the time you need to be killed first because you're so good at looping that it takes way more than a minute to kill you, because you just never seem to run out of stamina for some reason, and you dodge more strikes than a Toho player on cocaine. You're genuinely annoying to play against, and if you play first-person shooters, you're probably a sniper merchant too. You keep your team alive more than Elliot's most of the time, and while you're a rare group of players, you're probably one of the greatest survivors to be playing with, and one of the worst to be playing against. You probably do want to break your device though, when the survivor you're shooting runs at you. Guest. 50-50 on this one. You're either a horrible player who thinks they're oh so skilled and can play Guest well when they can't, or you're an actual sentinel that's more annoying than every survivor in the game combined. If you're the former, you miss your blocks half the time, and even when you do land them, you miss the parry or the punch against any competent killer. You love to charge into the killer for quite literally no reason, and even when you use it for an actually decent reason, like buying time for a survivor when the killer's honed in on them, you end up missing and doing nothing at all. You see all these good clips of guest players knocking a killer off the castle and want to replicate that, but you've never actually done it. You also probably can't loop, and more than anything, you're just a survivor that tries to parry the killer and then gets converted into 30 seconds when you subsequently get punished with Gashing Wound or whatever else is out there. On the flip side, if you're a good guest, good grief, you're annoying but really fun to watch in YouTube Shorts. You probably do some happy dance when you get one of those maps that you like and start creeping all over the place when the killer is stupid and you can knock them off a cliff or whatever. You also do a better job at surviving than most survivalists, and really, you're a professional nuisance more so than Shedletsky at times. Elliot. There are so many of you, and because of that, there's a really varied skill level of you too, again, either being bad or not bad. If you're bad at the game, you probably purchased him because he's a cheap survivor, and you heard people say he's good, and he is, but you have zero idea why he's good, and so you just end up dying half the time. For some reason, you play him like he's a survivalist, and amount to being a worse 2 times somehow, and because you're new to the game and don't understand how to do anything, you never end up restoring 30 HP to any survivors, instead only restoring 30 seconds on the clock. On the flip side, if you're one of those good Elliots, wow, you're annoying. You loop way too well, erase basically any progress that the killer makes, and if you're actually one of those no-lifes, you probably get together with friends in Discord to organize little teams where you have sentinels protecting you at all times while you heal them, making poor little Timmy who just wants to enjoy the game as killer suffer because you can't work at a pizza place in real life. You're great to be playing with, horrible to play against. Chance. You're okay, I guess. Most of you aren't particularly good at the game, nor are you bad, outside of that 10% who can loop so well that they're basically untouchable. Shooting the killer in the back is your entire reason for living, but when the killer is actually focused on you, you forget that dodging is a thing and miss your shot before the killer either 1. Taps you because you ended up with 15 stacks of weakness, or kills you after a few seconds because you're utterly defenseless without your gun. You also have a bad habit of shooting the killer when they're stunned, probably for XP, and you're decent at looping most of the time. You ain't terrible, but you aren't all that special either. 07N7. You're so useless outside of Last Man Standing. No, really. You probably send out your clone when the killer is right next to you, and then proceed to get massacred because they can still see you pretty easily. And even when you're smart with it, and use it outside of the killer's line of sight, it usually never works because most killers aren't so stupid that they think the 07 running right towards them is an actual player. You play him solely for the 1% chance that you're up against a 5-year-old who does actually fall for the clone, but most of the time you don't actually hit that chance and just straight up die. You're pretty good at looping most of the time, but it usually doesn't amount to much, and you're nowhere as good at looping as the people playing support classes. All that changes though when it's Last Man Standing, because then you actually have some fun of stalling the killer out, but you generally don't even get to that point because the killer just murders you before then, unless it's a cool kid that really wants to listen to plead. Your sole contributing factor to the team is screwing over cool kids and John Does by wasting their clones or digital footprints, and while you deserve some respect for using 07, most of you don't actually do much. That's about it. Most of these are just jokes based off my experience playing the game, so don't take it too seriously or set up a digital footprint in front of my door, aka a pipe bomb. If you like this video, consider subscribing for more of this stuff. I'm Noob Eternally, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.